My name's Thomas Rainer from Nachtmahr, and you're listening to Metal Blast.
I was surprised when I first contacted you because you wanted to make sure that I actually meant your Nachtmahr. Is it a normal thing for you that people get this band confused with someone else?
No, the point was why I was asking you this question is because there is two old black metal bands which are now defunct, which have the same name, because Nachtmahr means nightmare, but also succubus or night demon in German, which is, I think, a very, very good name for a band which tries to focus on darkness and aggressiveness. And two black metal bands that are now not working anymore had the same name. So that's why I thought if Metal Magazine contacted me, because I already had this case before. People contacted me and said, oh, I want to do an interview, but then they were talking about the wrong Nachtmahr. So that's why I thought I'll just ask twice.
That's really incredible, man. I mean, if you're gonna do an interview, at least make sure that you got the right person.
Oh man, you don't want to know what kind of interviews I get.
Well, what's your worst experience?
It's like fans that like have some radio stations and your like press office will set you up for some interviews and they will be like, oh, can you explain us your band history? And then I have to scroll down like 5 years of band history, like we did this album and we did this and blah blah blah. I think like badly researched interviews are really bad for you because like they put some people on you who don't know a shit about the band but know these like random questions where you basically have to do the whole interview. They have their 5 or 10 standard questions which you could use for every band, and then you have to basically come up with everything. So there's nothing I like. I mean, I really enjoy interviews, but I also think it's really good if you see that the interviewee put some effort into research. Yeah, the interviewer, sorry, man. No, I have to say the interviews I enjoy the most are the critical ones. Good. Where people say, oh, what you did there, what you did on that album, like third song, second chorus. That's not, why did you do that? Where you actually see that the interviewer like did some research and actually made up his mind. I think that's the ones I enjoy most.
You told me that you were working on a new album and that's keeping you pretty busy at the moment. So can you tell me a bit more about this?
We're working on a new album now. After the Can You Feel the BTB, we were very, very busy with live shows all over the world, and we're not focusing on Europe only. Nachtmahr is a very international theme. We're focusing on the whole world. We toured a lot of times in America. We did one tour of Australia. We're going there again in November. And we played in Asia and all over the world, so the live part is a very, very big thing for us. So it took a while for us to get back into the studio to record a new album, and now we have the songs together to basically now get back in the studio and record kick-ass album. And it's gonna be out at the end of the year. I can't say a definite release date yet, but we're gonna start recordings very, very soon, and it's gonna be out end of the year.
Now, earlier this year, you also released a new album with your other project, your other band, Lemon Mortel. How have you felt the fans reacted to this one?
I was very happy with the fan reaction. Like, Lemon Mortel is more like dark wave, gothy stuff, more emotional, and they always think that to comprehend me, Thomas Rainer, as a person, you have to listen to both bands. But Lemon Mortel is the more introvert, melancholic, and let's call it female side of my personality. Nachtmahr is the more male, aggressive, extrovert part of my personality. So I really appreciated that a lot of people who also listen to Nachtmahr also listened to the Lemon Mortel album and bought it, so they can get this like yin-yang thing to know what I'm all about. It's not all about the aggressive industrial music I'm doing with Nachtmahr, but also about the like more mellow, organic stuff I'm doing with Lemon Mortel.
Looking back at what happened at the Kinetic Festival with Adversari's presentation, how do you feel about it?
Honestly, the fun thing about all this is that I feel much less offended or everything like that than most people in the public do. Because the guy Jairus, he made a point. It's his private point, but I was drinking with him before he did that stuff. We were drinking at a bar next to the venue. And at the after party, after that incident, we were drinking again. So Jairus, the guy, he made his point. I made my point because what I did at Kinetic that day was I set up an interview with I Die You Die, the guys who covered the whole controversy, that webzine, and I just told my side of the story. So he made his point, I made my point, and we're good. So people are just making much more of a fuss out of it as it actually is. I mean, it's two people, two opinions. We personally still get along.
There is one thing from your interview that I thought was, I don't know, inaccurate maybe. Because you say, and to a certain extent I agree, namely that your visual is mostly a militaristic thing, but not a fascist thing. But the truth is that, well, there are the armbands, and even in the video for Can You Feel the Beat, there is this whole Hitler's bunker feeling.
Not really. I think it's a uniform. And the point is that it reminds me of a good friend of mine. I'll just tell you a short story long. A friend of mine, who was a fetish promoter from Barcelona. He wrote on Facebook 2 weeks ago that he wanted to go to a fetish club and he wore a full Soviet uniform. And they threw him out of the club because he said he's a Nazi. Because he wore a uniform. And uniform is automatically associated with right wing. Although his uniform had red stars, hammer and sickle on it. It was an old Second World War Soviet uniform. But people automatically associate uniforms with right wing, and this is just wrong. I'm a uniform fetishist. Uniforms turn me on, they make my cock hard, and girls in uniform make me even hotter. This is my point, and I'm not willing to compromise on that just because some douchebags think I'm a Nazi because of my fetish.
Now, after the Kinetic Festival, Faderhead, who you actually worked with, he wrote on his website that you are indeed a Nazi and that you made some racist rant when you worked together. And I don't know, are you familiar with everything he said?
I know everything about it. You mean, the point is, the adversary guys, Jairus, started with it, and like I said before, I'm totally fine with what he said, because there is this very important quote. I don't know if I can translate it correctly into English. It's freedom is always the freedom of the people who think differently. Freiheit ist immer nur die Freiheit des Andersdenkenden. So, die Freiheit ist immer nur die Freiheit des Andersdenkenden. So, if you want freedom for yourself, you have to accept the freedom of somebody else.
Definitely.
So, I also accept the freedom of opinion of other people.
Yeah, but in the case of Faderhead, he's not giving his opinion. He's saying that
I know exactly what happened, and I don't want to go into detail because I'm not the person who wants to wash dirty laundry. Everybody's entitled to an opinion, but if this opinion comes 2 years late, I have to voice the suspicion that it's not an opinion, it comes from the heart, but out of jealousy. Because if something happened 2 years ago, either voice it out when it happens, or fucking forget about it. Don't voice it when the band that's concerning it gets bigger, and you might to get a promo push for your own band about dissing it. If you oppose something somebody says, then voice it when it happens. Don't voice it 2 fucking years later. This is just lame, and this just leads to the suspicion that you're doing it out of grabbing some extra publicity. That's all I'm saying to that. I don't really want any war with anybody. I'm really a guy who wants to get along with people, because I think this scene is much too small for beefs, for wars between bands, because I think we should rather all stick together and make this scene better for everybody. That's my opinion. If other bands disagree with that, that's their piece of cake, but I'm not gonna join their I'm not gonna oppose or answer to that. I just let them have their say, and they should say whatever they want. I said what I needed to say in the interview with I Die You Die, which was long enough, and I think in-depth enough to cover all the topics that were there. I can honestly say, and that's my true belief, I'm an Austrian patriot. And Nazis, National Socialists, believe that Austria is a part of Germany. It's not an independent state. They do not believe in the independence of Austria. And that's why those two things automatically clash. Me as an Austrian patriot can never be a Nazi, because I believe in my country, I love my country, and I love this country as it is now. And we Austrians, we're not friends of Germans. We don't like the Germans. It's a bit like the Dutch and the Belgians, probably, you know? This kind of hate-love relationship. I am Austrian, I'm not German, and I don't want to be German. And National Socialists want that Austria is a part of Germany, and I don't fucking think so. We have our own culture. We're much different than the Germans. I mean, we're a bit similar to the Bavarians, to the southern Germans, but as Germany as a whole, it's two different cultures. It's a bit like maybe Holland and Belgium. It's similar language, like Flanders and Holland, maybe something like that. But it's different cultures, different beliefs, different like the whole society is different. So I oppose this idea very, very strongly that we should be associated with Germany in any way except in a like free trade European Union way like it is now. And this is, I think, the strongest argument I can always give against me being a Nazi, because I'm an Austrian patriot and I put my Austrian patriotism out there. It's in my albums. I wave the Austrian flag on stage, and Austrian patriotism is strong in my artwork because this is what I believe in. So that's why I oppose National Socialism, because they're against my country.
Now, since you mentioned patriotism, do you think that it's hard nowadays for Austrians to be patriotic?
It's easier than in Germany, but it's still hard. Because every like Frenchman, I mean, French have a society. They have a society for the cleanliness of the French language. Just imagine if there would be a similar society in Germany, everybody would scream Nazi, right? But in Austria, we have a different culture, especially in Vienna. Vienna is we have this culture of taking life more easy, like more in a Mediterranean way. For example, if there is a big catastrophe happening, big whatever, like atom bomb or something, whatever, in the world, people in Austria would cope with it with jokes. They would make jokes about it, and then everything would be good. We are having just a more easy approach than the Germans. We're less tied up. We're just trying to cope with it in a different way. And that's why I said we're culturally totally different, and that's why I don't want to be associated with Germany. And that's why I could never be even slightly interested in a National Socialist idea.
I think that in Europe there is a certain frustration about how if a European says that they're proud of their country, they're proud of their heritage, they are immediately labeled as Nazis or racists, even if they have said nothing about anybody else. So of course it is frustrating, and it's not very cool that you're immediately equated with a bigot.
And that's just wrong. I totally think tradition is a very important part of our lives, and I have really like this quote, and I don't know who it is from. It says like, tradition is not worshipping the ashes but carrying on the flame. It's a traditional quote. I don't know who it is from, but it's rather old, and so that's why I want to. I mean, I have kids myself, and I want to also give them the traditions, the Christian. Because Austria is a Christian country, like the Christian traditions and the old, also pagan tradition. We have a lot of pagan traditions in Austria as well. We have a lot of really, like, in our normal culture, it's a Christian society, but there's still a lot of, Austria is a very traditional country. We have a lot of like pagan rituals and stuff like that. Like in Easter, there's fires everywhere. And we also celebrate Beltane. Okay. And there is, when you drive through northern Austria, you have on all the hills you have big fire bonfires and stuff like that. I think this is our culture. This is our old culture, and there's nothing wrong with it. This culture has been here hundreds of years before any like right-wing idea was born. So why not stick to it and celebrate it?
Do you want to convey a certain message with your music?
No, like I said, this is my private opinion. My music, I think in my music, I don't like politics in my music. I think my music should totally stay clean of politics, because I think it's very dangerous. If you put your political message into your music, people who might not like the message will adapt it just because they're fans of your music and not because they like the idea. Right. So that's why I totally want to stay clear of that. Because people, if I would say something, then they would say, oh, that's great, but they won't say because they like the idea, but they will say it because they like my music. So that's why, stay clear of that, let people make up their own minds.
Do you think that Nachtmahr has changed a lot since you began all those years ago?
Yeah, I think the beginnings was more rough, and now I really try to introduce more like song structures into it and make it more like less of this dance-only attitude, get it more like into real songs and more kind of different messages, but non-political, like I said before, but also write more meaningful lyrics and let people, I think there's enough space on the dance floor to think as well. Mm-hmm. So more song-oriented, And then also a new album, we're trying to get more influences from all. We're also in a new album to really more like down-tempo, a bit of down-tempo songs, and we're trying to put more variety into the music. That's the basic idea.
Do you think that this new album is going to continue on the same vein as the Can You Feel the Beat EP?
Yeah, like I said, it's going to use a lot of traditional elements that what Nachtmahr is made of, but it will also have a bit more down-tempo, and it's going to be more song-oriented. Like, because I'm a like synth geek and production geek and stuff like that. But in the first hand, I'm a songwriter. I learned my craft like from the very, very basics. So I think a good song is a good song when you can play it on a guitar and then it still works. Like your voice in an acoustic guitar, and then the song still works. I think that's what distinguishes a good song from a bad song. The new Nachtmahr album will have more of these ideas. Like, if you strip down those songs from the new album to like acoustic guitar versions, they would still work.
Do you want to start working on this type of music, like more acoustic or instrument-oriented stuff?
Maybe there is a track on the new album. Maybe I'm not giving anything away, but
what about it?
Maybe, but I'm not. I don't want to talk too much about the new album already because that's still a bit far out. But this more song-oriented songwriting, instead of only like concentrating on sounds and like synth sound design, more concentrating on songwriting. This was a very, very important part of the song because I was doing like proper like orchestration and stuff like that with my other band, with Martel. We had work with orchestra, string sections and everything, so I have the abilities to do that. And for Nachtmahr, I'm trying to also bring this more song-oriented writing into the music.
You've said that Nachtmahr represents the more feminine side, while Nachtmahr is the more aggressive, masculine, macho side, if you will. Is there still more of you that you would like to show, or do these two bands pretty much cover everything that there was to show?
Like I said, with the two projects, I think my musical spectrum is pretty much filled out. These two projects, I can totally satisfy my need to make music and to make different kinds of music, so I'm totally happy with that. And there's also no fucking time, honestly speaking.
I can imagine. I mean, you have the two bands and a production company.
It's my only job. I'm a pro musician since 13 years now. I'm doing nothing else. And those two bands, and especially a lot of shows, they keep me busy.
So the production company is devoted exclusively to
Martel and Nachtmahr.
Okay.
That's all I'm doing. I'm doing 95% of every single stuff myself, of like internet promotion, management. I'm doing most of the booking myself, except for Germany, and all that kind of stuff. So I'm really trying to keep everything in my own hands.
Has it been very hard for you to continue as a pro musician? Namely, to survive, to live off of exclusively the bands?
I think you shouldn't whine, you should adapt. I think every crisis leads to new chances, and I think I found my ways of using this crisis for myself and use it to make my business as profitable as possible. So I think just don't complain, just use the new possibilities that are created by a change in consumer habits. Just use it to your advantage, adapt to it. You can't oppose it, go with it, adapt or die. That's basically a Darwinistic attitude. I mean, like it's not survival of the fittest, which is the wrong translation. It's the survival of the most adaptable. And so that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to see what is happening. I'm trying to adapt to it in the best way to keep my artistic integrity, but still be able to live of it, because only if I can live of it, I can still fund and live my dream and make the music I want to instead of making the music I have to do. Like I said, I do everything myself. All the booking, all the promotion, I drive here, and I have no tour manager. I have no other crew than my musicians. Because in times like these, you need to pull down on a lot of things, which make more work for you, but you need to do it because without that, you'll be stuck with no money. So basically what I'm trying to do, like I said before, with the adapt thing, is work more yourself. My job as a musician is, I would say, 35% in the studio. The rest is administration, office work, all that kind of stuff. Because only if I do everything myself, I can guarantee that the result is 100% me. I think I'm just one of those musicians who tries to do what he wants to do, and I'm happy with the success I have. I don't want to be a fucking big rock star. If I can continue on the level I'm doing now until the rest of my life, I'm perfectly happy. I don't need more than that.
Speaking of that, and before we finish, Gene Simmons, the bass player and sometimes singer of Kiss, said that people who start a band or who play music, they never really did it because they actually love music. And he includes himself in that list. He says that they did it because they wanted to get laid. So what made you actually do this?
It's an honest question. When I was in puberty, I saw the first Guns N' Roses gig in my life. And I said, I want to be like Axl fucking Rose. That's really, that's the truth. That's the plain truth. I just said, wow, that's life, and that's making music for life. That's it. Axl Rose was the guy who basically brought me into music. Hey guys. Nachtmahr. Who are you then?
I'm working.
That's good. I'm working as well. I'm just doing an interview. So sit down and shut the fuck up, please. You're in hell.
You actually don't know Joe?
No?
She's high as fuck.
Yeah. Thomas, pleased to meet you. What's your name?
I'm
Which band are you with?
working.
Great. Are you a bartender? No?
High.
Are you
I
high?
know what I'm doing. I know I'm not high. I'm a plan.
That's good.
And if someone's saying that I'm here,
Okay, good. So, so basically,
so I'm sitting with Nachtmahr.
yes,
And where are you from, Nachtmahr?
from Vienna, Austria.
No, I mean, what are you doing in it?
I am the mastermind, the singer, and the programmer. I'm basically the only guy in the band. Okay, can we
You
get
are Nachtmahr, the only person.
It's a
basically the one who writes the music and who sings on stage?
It's him and a MacBook.
Can we do the interview, please? I want to start partying.
The
too.
Why don't you guys
when-
just party?
Because we're doing an interview here.